Welcome to the Board Game Academic Podcast, where we explore the crossroads of scholarship, play, and practice. I'm your host, Christopher Carbone, scholar, educator, and of course, lifelong gamer. Each week this semester, we discuss with brilliant minds how analog games inform real-world practices, support meaningful change, and challenge us to think critically, whether in classrooms, clinics, communities, or beyond. This week I'm joined by Matthew.
Hi, yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks, Chris.
So glad to have you back. We obviously have done a mini kind of interview previously about your academic essay on boardgameacademics.com. And that got such a great reception that we wanted to bring you back to talk more about your professional practical applications and experiences of tabletop games, both as a therapist, but also in your real life in the real world.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, just so folks know, I am a licensed mental health counselor in the state of New York, and I work primarily with the LGBTQ plus population. I mean, I work with other folks as well, of course, but that's like my, I guess, specialty,
Yeah.
if you will. And I have also done like board game content creation in the past. Like I've been on the Dice Tower. I had my own channel called Room 51. I've been part of Tabletop Live Network, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I've also worked in the higher education setting as a counselor.
Mhm.
And that was a lot of fun. But right now, I run a solo private practice as a therapist.
Great. And that's wonderful. It's good to meet another fellow gamer who's also a counselor. So we're out there and well known. We're typically the people that brings the games to game night, and we're like, let's welcome everyone to the table. How's everybody feeling about the game as we're going through it? And they're like, there's like, yes, I know it's not the traditional smack talk that you're used to, but like, we just want to check in with everybody. Is everyone feeling okay about the game? We're all feeling safe right now. And you're like, all right, roll your dice. Like, all right, fine, we'll roll your dice. So you can't take the counselor out. You just can't do it.
No, yeah, I bring it everywhere. My counseling, I can't help it.
It's 100%. So, Matthew, talking a little bit about your clinical practice as a therapist and working with obviously a diverse population of people, especially the LGBTQIA population. Has tabletop games ever come into those conversations, or any work that you might have done, or any feedback that they had brought to your attention, or even maybe from a theoretical point of view, anything that you've learned about gaming itself that you've brought into the therapeutic sessions?
Yeah. So I it's interesting because a lot of queer folks are into gaming. It could be like video gaming, it's board gaming, and so it definitely enters the conversation. I get a lot of folks who love to play like Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. So other role playing games, and we actually get to talk about it during the sessions, which is a lot of fun. Especially because I'm knowledgeable about these games, so then they bring it up because they tend to see the background and they're like, "Oh, are you into board games?"
A little
And
bit, just a little bit.
just a little, um, and so we get to talk about it, and it's so interesting how they like express themselves or have had terrible experiences or really great ones. They've been able to like connect with their family members through it. Or they've felt disappointed by their family members because they wouldn't connect with them
Oh,
through
sure.
it. So, uh, yeah, it is interesting. But I've also used board games in sessions and specifically, I work with the adult population. I think that a lot of times we think of like play therapy for like children,
Yeah.
and I don't necessarily work with children. So using it with adults has been really cool. But yeah, I it not only does it like facilitate conversation, it kind
Hmm.
of brings home a point that um, they get like a tangible experience with.
Sure.
So the way I like to think about it is kind of in terms of poetry.
Mm-hmm.
There's poetry does this thing where you can express an emotion through words that
Mm-hmm.
you can't necessarily do without the poetic framework. So with board games, I feel like it does the same thing. Where So for example, you actually mentioned Hanabi earlier.
Yes.
I've used Hanabi in sessions. Uh,
Excellent.
yeah, to bring home the point of like communication using body language,
Yes.
or um, being able to say things with fewer words, and um, being able to really like take in information from other people and listen and everything. By the way, everything I do is virtual, so I
Okay.
use Board Game Arena a lot for that.
Nice.
It's just a really easy interface um, to use, and uh, yeah, so it's been really cool to do that and see not only what I'm trying to present to the client, but what the client gets from it as well. So I always ask them like, why do you think I used this particular game?
Yes.
And what were some of the things that came up for them as they were playing?
Mm.
And that's a whole other thing. And I learned a bunch from them too. It's like, oh wow, I didn't
Yes.
even think that that is a message that this game could be giving. But that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to do with games just generally and the experience, like you said, to have a medium or a vehicle for conversation. And then obviously it provides a context of play, right? And so much of therapy is that re-engagement with play, right? To reevaluate, reconstruct, think differently, state differently, the experience that you might have. And again, games let you do that, right? Like games let you recreate a kind of scenario and situation, hopefully in a much safer place, right? You're not fighting dragons, so it's
Yes.
fine, right? You go bankrupt, it's cool because it's just a game. You're not actually bankrupt, but
Right.
and I'm sure your clients appreciate that too. Like you said, there's always that kind of concern or oddity or frivolousness of like, oh, it's that those are just for children. But really, it's just a childhood experience where you were the most flexible and and just like open to new experiences. And so much of mental health, and sometimes I think about this a lot, Matthew, like I'll oftentimes like I'll say like when I'm talking with students that I've worked with, like sometimes they'll come in and they'll just be too broad, right? It's just too much, and sometimes they'll be too narrow. And usually for me, and I'm sure you as the expert could talk more about this, like usually when we get stuck and when our mental health becomes problematic and becomes more of a disorder, it's because we hit a log jam, right? Like we have this such a rigid kind of understanding and belief about ourselves and the world that like play kind of starts to open up like what if this, what if this, what if
Hmm.
this, you know?
Yeah, I agree. It gives options
Yeah.
and agency. So it can really. I always in my sessions, oftentimes I ask clients to speak to their childhood self, right?
Wow.
And reconnect with their child self, because that was the person that was like, everything is new and you can do whatever you want. The possibilities are endless. There's a sense of play there, imagination, all these sort of things. So, and a sense of innocence, right? There's like a protection there, but you also get to um, talk to your child self and protect them as well from whatever they were going through during that
Hmm.
time. But as an adult, like you have your own back in a sense. Like using board games and play helps reconnect you with that child self. and that sense of wonder. Uh, Even in terms of like the way you solve problems in games.
Yes.
It's a lot to do with the imagination, which is really cool. It deepens our understanding of ourselves and also how to uh, not only perceive opportunities but also receive opportunities.
Mm, that's great. Yeah, and I think a lot of the humanistic thinkers out there, whether you think of like Maslow or Rogers, like the problem with humanity and obviously dealing with our mental health is that the world has put blocks in our way, right? It's becoming an obstacle for our just mental health. And it sounds like what a lot of what you're doing is just kind of reopening that kind of space, bringing a sense of awe again. Like
Hmm.
a lot of times you hear, at least on TikTok or other places, it's like you have to practice your gratitudes. And like it seems really kind of silly and novel, but like, yeah, I guess so. I guess you do, right? Like, I guess you do have to consider the other elements of just like life.
Hmm.
Um, it's really easy to overanalyze or fixate on something that's incredibly problematic, where the solution might just be slightly to the left or right, and maybe games let us do that a little bit, which is great.
Yeah, I agree. It's part of the reason why I fell in love with games too, right? It opened the possibility for me as well, and so it's like I want to share that experience with other people
Yeah.
who are struggling.
Yeah, I mean, I love games so much because you can try other elements of personality and perspective and body and mind. Where else in life do you get to do that, right? Like, I'm gonna play, a female halfling cleric who's from the Lost Lands, but it's also the family background is like this, and like I can develop a character and a story and stuff like, and then I have to play that out. And yes, I am not that character, but maybe there are elements that bleed over that I am that do resonate with me, and I can see myself a little bit in that character, and like now I can kind of expand what it means to be me.
Hmm.
And society usually doesn't let you do that. Society really wants to know and have you in a very confined box,
Yes.
which is hilarious because the only person who really knows, knows ourselves is ourselves,
Hmm.
and we don't even know ourselves fully, right?
Hmm.
I'll tell students all the time, I'll be like, have you ever said something and been surprised at yourself?
Hmm.
And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, have you ever done anything and been surprised? Like, yeah. And I'm just like, yeah, you don't know what you're, you don't know yourself yet. And you can spend the rest of your life trying to get to know yourself and still be surprised. Like, that's amazing and wonderful. But also, it should give you a hint that, like, your sense of self is not, you know, rudely constructed by stereotypical elements of the world, like yeah, it's so freeing and refreshing. And again, just lets you know, like when you step back into fully into the real world, you're just like, oh, there are rules, like just like in the game, like there are rules out here. I have to follow these
Hmm.
rules, and yeah, okay, so I don't want to do that. I don't want to do those things. So Matthew, like, so at like the end of your sessions, do you ever like recommend games, or do you like take two Catans and call me in the morning kind of thing? Like,
um, Sometimes I do recommend games. It depends if the client is like wanting for more. Um, I'll recommend games based on a number of things. I When I recommend them, it's mostly for like entertainment purposes because that's what they're looking for. Then either in terms of like I want to start up a new hobby,
yeah,
right, or play solo or
mm,
connect with family, whatever it might be. Um, so I'll tend to send them a list of games that are, beginner friendly, usually, and sometimes they're not beginner friendly, and I'll let them know like this is not beginner friendly, but I think that you would enjoy it. So uh, Yeah, and yeah, but when it comes to like uh recommending games specifically for mental health purposes, I don't have a whole lot, because it I think it's very individualistic, and
Yeah, 100%.
it it's also about like the person who is playing the game with you. Like,
Yes.
I'm a clinician, so I am, framing it in that way and conducting it in that way. So, uh, you playing it by yourself, I don't think is going to unlock, the deep rooted things that you're going through. So, uh, that is something that I also bring up with clients,
Yes.
if they're looking for that specifically.
Yes. And a lot of times, I guess the games that typically are sent to be done alone in some sort of therapeutic dynamic is like serious games, like games that were developed specifically for that kind of content. Sometimes the problems with those are they're not fun, or sometimes they're overly directive. Like a lot of times, Matthew, I don't know if you've probably ever worked with like a lot of workbooks,
Hmm.
right? Or like quasi dream journals where you have to kind of fill in certain questions and things like that. And again, when it comes to like game based learning or teaching or therapeutic stuff, educators and counselors are really the same on this, which is what you said, which is you want to have a content expert with you to kind of fill in the context and dynamics that are coming out of the game so that you can appreciate the development that's occurring and see things that you may not have seen or apply things in a certain way. And that has so much value.
Hmm.
Obviously, we believe gaming is great for entertainment, and fun is also a very healthy thing.
Hmm.
And again, as adults, I think we forget the fact that that's a healthy habit to have fun.
Yeah.
Um, and I know, like, we're supposed to be men and go to a bar and drink and then go shoot things. And you're like, I don't know, this doesn't seem very healthy. Like, maybe we should not be doing those destructive things
Yeah.
like the best men do. Just like, I don't know. How about we play some games? You're like, it's kind of kiddish. Like, no, let's try to play some games. And like, then maybe you can really connect on a personal level. Like that's,
Hmm.
like, so that's fun and healthy. Like that's a thing. So we need to do more of that, Matthew. I think that's the advocacy for games, both in the clinical practice, but also for people's maybe social isolation,
Hmm.
um, that they're dealing with now more than ever, especially with technology.
Hmm.
To connect in a more realistic, personal, tactile way, I think sometimes is really healthy. Obviously, it depends on the game, right? Some games are a little more aggressive and problematic. But if again, like if you take up magic, you'll never have money for drugs, right?
That's true.
Like the money goes first.
That's
So,
true. Although is
and
magic a
obviously,
drug? I don't
and
know.
obviously, games, Matthew, right? Clearly, you have no money. I have no money. We have games, though, right?
Yeah.
Where's all your money? It's in cardboard. It's all in cardboard. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's wonderful. Matthew, could you? I know that you talked about this on the last interview you did with us, and people can find that podcast on boardgameacademics.com if you'd like to see that full kind of flushed out. But I do want to mention that academic essay that you wrote so that like people will go and read that because I think that's also very important to kind of contextualize tabletop gaming and what it's meant to you, both as a player slash gamer, but also as a mental health professional.
Yeah. I don't remember the title that I gave it,
You can go to the
but
website. They know the website. They don't need.
they
They
could go
define
to
your name. Yeah,
they could find my name.
yeah.
So yeah, the I guess the essay was, from what I can remember, it's about my personal journey with board gaming as an introvert,
Gotcha.
and it talks a lot about the paradox of it
Hmm.
being a very social activity,
Yes.
usually, unless you're only doing solo gaming, um, which I don't. I do solo gaming, but I also play with other people. So so the paradox of like it being a social activity while also me just being a very shy introverted person. uh
Gotcha.
so so it was fun to write that and explore that a little bit. And I think I also talk about my queer identity and how that has played a role in gaming for me, and how I've been able to like explore myself and express myself through gaming.
Yeah.
And uh, same as an introvert, kind of like playing the part of an extrovert in a way, especially through creating content around board gaming. And oftentimes folks who recognize me from YouTube or something will be surprised that I'm actually quite shy.
Yeah.
So because I have a very different persona on YouTube. But it's fun because it's like that I get to tap into that part of myself,
Yes.
right? It's not an act. It's just a
No.
different part of myself that doesn't get to see the light of day a whole lot. So yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what board games allow you to do, I think.
100%. And again, when we think introverted versus extroverted kind of thing, it's not that you don't want to connect versus you do. It's where do you get your energy? How do you like to kind of engage with the world? It's not the kind of classically defined like I hide in a room versus I'm out with people every night kind of thing. And
Right, exactly.
um, and you need that kind of health. So if you do go to boardgameacademics.com and you go to the podcast area, episode 7, the social paradox of gaming and introverts with Matthew. So there you go.
Yeah.
Definitely check that out because I think all of us on some level are introverts,
Mhm.
you know, and we feel that. So I'm really glad that, gaming has done that for you, Matthew, because I know it's done that for me too. Like, I don't feel comfortable going into a bar and drinking and trying to socialize. It doesn't work for me. Like, it's not for me. It's not a healthy habit, so I don't
Mhm.
do it. But also, everyone else is kind of drunk, so I lose a lot of that fun.
Mhm.
Um, but if you play games with people, that game can be the mixer. That could
Mhm.
be the thing that does all the heavy lifting, and you could just comment every once in a while and see people play things out, and it's a lot of fun. It's also a lot of fun. I guess we keep forgetting to say that, Matthew. It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Go figure. Entertainment and that all that stuff being important for our mental health. It's funny. I did want to mention one game that I was thinking about as you were speaking, and then um, I wish this game would have been out when I wrote the essay for Board Game Academics. Um, I haven't actually played it yet. I own it. Um, and I did like a brief demo of it at I think it was
Yes.
PAX Unplugged. Um, but it's called A Place for All My Books.
Oh,
Have you?
yeah.
Yeah, I
Mark and
think
Dagger.
yes, yeah. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. It shows introversion, and like where you get your energy from, and needing to take like a break from social life to just like regain that energy and things like that. And not a whole lot of games showcase like introversion. And that being not a whole lot of media shows introversion as like a strength.
Yes.
We're kind of like thrown to the backside. It's like the extrovert who's like the leader and whatever, and it's like okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like if more games came out with sort of like theming of mental health, that would be way cooler than like some sort of activity that like kind of tries to force you into like I don't know some sort of mental health space in a way.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that theming was very cool for me.
Yeah. Actually, that game will be at the Tabletop Scholars Conference, Matthew.
Awesome.
And again, like you said, I think it does fit certainly with that idea. Like typically people talk about how many spoons they have, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
another kind of way that, what do you have available to you? Like what can you do? Like, well, I only have a certain number of spoons
Mm-hmm.
as far
Mm-hmm.
as like energy and effort that I could put towards something. And I think that's something that like we need to kind of like institute in our society, that 100% of what somebody has that day is not always 100%. Sometimes their 20% is their 100%, right? Like that's as much as they can manage that day. Tomorrow might be different. Tomorrow might be 75% or
Yeah.
85%, but right now
Hmm.
it's 20%. But they will give you 100% of what they have, again, 20%. Um, but they're doing that stuff other places too, right? Like we talk about that again, like what you see extrovertedly, right, doesn't mean that they're not doing that other 80% inside their head or behind the scenes, right? Like again, I think like you mentioned, Matthew, I think it's perfect. Like introverts are often seen as not participating as much. They're just participating differently.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly.
the world doesn't work unless that happens.
Hmm. Yeah. Diversity in terms of social engagement.
Yes. And again, and I think that's a perfect tip, Matthew, because I think for a lot of game publishers out there, game designers out there, they're looking to address those kind of populations and those kind of markets.
Hmm.
And like you said, typically they over analyze and they just over fixate on like disorders, right? Like, oh, this person's ADHD and this person's bipolar. Like, don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
this person is living in this particular way or presenting this particular way or
Hmm.
experiencing life in this way. And like you said, with the books, right? Like people tend to gravitate to certain areas and expertise.
Hmm.
Uh, an engineer, you know, and let's say a game show host, two very different people, personality wise. You
Hmm.
can speak about people's mental health in a very positive way by speaking to the personalities of those different people without having to label as a diagnostic situation, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need to bring the DSM into this. Nobody nobody wants that to happen.
No. It's a boring book.
Sure. So, and again, I think a lot of times too, when we start labeling things, people get labeled, and that if you're in any kind of profession, counseling or otherwise, you know that there's more diversity out there than the classifications that are currently being used. Now, the classifications are not necessarily bad, like they are meaningfully trying to be good.
Hmm.
But again, words are limiting, right? Just
Yeah.
generally words, like language is limiting. Um,
Hmm.
it's beautiful, but it's limiting at the same time. So, um, but we're going to have a lot more of these conversations, discussions at the Tabletop Scholar Conference. So, we would love for you to join us and join Matthew and hear more from his presentation and have the opportunity to game and hang out. So,
Yeah.
it should be a lot of fun.
I'm excited. Yeah. Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be part of it.
Wonderful. Well, Matthew, thank you so much. You can find more about Matthew in the show notes. You'll find his links there. Or you can also go to Board Game Academics, read his academic essay, benefit from his previous interview talking more about the introversion and tabletop gaming, and obviously coming to the conference. So until next time, everyone, keep rolling and thinking critically. Take care, everybody.